Week 3 is just about in the books, which means it's time for us to start looking ahead to week 4. I had 18 running backs finish inside of the top 24. So at 75%, we love to see that number going up. We're going to talk about the matchups this week, go through what happened this past week, look at some waivers, look at some streamers, only here on the Face Off Sports Network. Looking back at this past week, guys, we saw Jonathan Taylor with another monster 32-point week. Omarion Hampton found his way inside the top 5, along with fellow rookie Cam Scattaboo. Tyrone Tracy was a late injury, so we saw Cam Scattaboo elevate up into that role. Christian McCaffrey with another solid week. Monday Night Football is wrapping up right now, and Jahmyr Gibbs is fantastic. He just scored another touchdown. Jordan Mason ended up at 6th overall. James Cook at 7th overall. David Montgomery had a great night as well. All sorts of running backs to talk about. I think that they looked really, really good going forward. Some names kind of popped up that we're not necessarily used to. Judkins found his way at 11th overall. We saw guys like Tony Pollard. Jeremy McNichols had a big play, which kept him inside the top 24. And then finally, Kareem Hunt finds his way in the top 24 as well. So lots of players to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of these guys going forward. But let's just get straight to it, and let's get into my first tier of running backs, and that's going to be Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, and Devon Achane. Now, let's start with Christian McCaffrey as my RB1. He's frankly so involved. 19 points this past week, 17 carries for 52 yards, added 10 catches on 15 targets for 88 yards. He is currently 3rd in red zone carries. Just the opportunity is something you want. It's worth noting he takes on Jacksonville this weekend on the midday window, and they're a tough run defense, so we should keep that in mind. But at the same time, San Francisco is a top 10 run blocking offense per PFF, so you're playing him, no questions asked. RB2 for me, James Cook, taking on the New Orleans Saints. You couldn't ask for a better matchup. He scored 19.3 points this past week, 19 carries for 108 yards and a touchdown. He's currently 4th in red zone carries, and he's 4th in carries inside the 5. So it's not the QB sneak that's sharking him. He's actually getting the opportunity at the goal line. We love to see it. The TD regression is simply not there. James Cook is an absolute fantasy gold mine right now. And at 3, Jonathan Taylor, you can make the argument for him to be anywhere 1 or 2. I'm not going to fault you that much. This tier is just so elite. He takes on the LA Rams, not the best matchup, midday window. The Colts have been a fantastic offensive line, another one of those top 10 run blocking teams. He had 17 carries for 102 yards and 3 catches for 16 yards, 31-point week this past week. He's leading the entire league in red zone carries. He's 2nd in carries inside the 5. So the goal line opportunity, it's juicy. This Colts offense looks really dang good. They finally punted, and it was only one time in that game. So Jonathan Taylor is going to continue to be a guy that we're going to plug and play. Now, Derrick Henry at 4 for me. He's still playing right now, so his day could go up. He's looked good so far, had a score, still looks like a high-powered, big play guy. Taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, okay matchup there. The Ravens' offensive line is really, really strong, so not much to add there. And 5 for me is going to be Bijan Robinson. He takes on Washington. That is a stout defense. He had 13.6 points this past week, 13 carries for 72 yards, added 5 catches for 39 yards. That Falcons offense just frankly was not very good. And again, Washington is a stout defense, so that might be a little bit of a tougher matchup for him. We saw them bottle up Genty. They've done it thus far this year, shutting down both of the running backs there in New York too in week 1. I think that he's going to still be a solid play just based on the volume alone, but it's worth tempering expectations just given the matchup. And finally, to close out the tier for me, it's going to be Devon Achane. And again, this is just one of those volume plays. He's been so good. Taking on the Jets, I like the matchup there. It's a good matchup for him. Monday night, he had 12.6 points this past week, 12 carries, 62 yards, 7 catches for 29 yards. I think he's going to continue to get better as the year goes on. And what we've seen is just constant use of him in the passing game. So I don't see that changing. I really like Devon Achane going forward. But now let's start to move to our next tier. And I know the first thing people are going to say, how did we leave off Jahmyr Gibbs? Again, I had this prior to the game starting, and Jahmyr has had a monster night. But he kicks off my tier 2. RB7, Saquon Barkley at 8, followed by Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Bucky Irving, and Chuba Hubbard. Now, like I said, Jahmyr Gibbs is playing right now as I'm recording this. The game is almost over. He's had a fantastic night, 2 touchdowns, a bunch of catches. He's everything you want in a running back. Tough matchup with the Cleveland Browns. Very, very good defense. Very stout against the run. They are tough to move up front. So it's worth noting the matchup isn't great, but the Lions are the Lions. I think they're going to be fine. You play Gibbs. Now, at 8 for me, Saquon Barkley. He gets to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another tough matchup. Again, solid offensive line, but a solid defensive line that's good against the run. One of the top 10 teams right now, according to PFF, against the run. He had 7.5 points this past week. He was involved, didn't get the score. He's still second in carries inside the 5, but the tush push undoubtedly is sharking him at the goal line, and that continues to be a major problem for him, but he's going to be fine going forward, so don't stress too much. Josh Jacobs at RB9 for me. I like the play here. I mean, he gets to take on Dallas. It's a revenge game with Micah Parsons. Maybe that offense gets up for the game. Who the heck knows? Sunday Night Football. He had 9.9 points this past week, 13 carries for 30 yards. 16 carries for 30 yards and 5 catches for 44 yards. Now, Josh Jacobs, the numbers weren't necessarily there, but the opportunity is what you want to chase. Second in red zone carries. So when they're getting ready to score, he is still involved. He's fourth in carries inside the 5. So he has the opportunity at the goal line. No one else is taking that from him. You continue to play him. He's one of those guys that's going to constantly be in the RB1 territory throughout the rest of the season. Now, my next pick is going to be Kenneth Walker. The day was inefficient. I mean, this past week he had 17.5 points, 16 carries for 38 yards, added 2 touchdowns on the ground. This game against the Saints was over from the beginning. They were up by 21 very, very quick. They had almost 40 points at halftime, so there wasn't really much use for Kenneth Walker. It just became kind of just run out the clock. At the same time, he takes on the Arizona Cardinals this week on Thursday Night Football. I like the play. I don't necessarily expect Sharps to play. If Charbonnet does play, I would kind of bump him down just a little bit just because he's going to be involved. But I think Kenneth Walker showed everyone he's still a guy that we need to be considering. Still looks explosive. So 12 right now for me, pending the Sharps news. But of course, as always, I post updated rankings in the Discord throughout the week. Now, Bucky Irving, RB11 for me. Another solid week, 11.9 points for him, 25 carries for 66 yards, 4 catches for 33 yards. He did not get the end zone run. Tough matchup this week against Philly, but he's still one of those guys with so much volume. It just takes one play for him to make a couple guys miss, and next thing you know, he's off and running to the races. And to close out tier 2 for me, it's going to be Chuba Hubbard taking on the New England Patriots. Pretty decent matchup for him this past week. The Carolina Panthers rolled, only 8.6 points for him. He didn't find his way in the end zone, but he had 17 carries for 73 yards. So still looked okay. I don't expect Carolina to win 30-0 like they did this past week, but hey, you never know. It's the NFL. You got to earn it each week. But let's continue on and let's get into my tier 3. We're going to start with Jordan Mason here. RB13 for me, followed by Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne, Jalen Warren, and Breece Hall. Now, with Jordan Mason, I want to say this offensive line is fantastic. Another top 10 run block team per PFF, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers Sunday at 9:30. This is one of our first international games, so be ready for that early kickoff. Coming off a week where he had 23.6 points, 16 carries for 116 yards. He looked really dang good. He's going to have plenty of opportunity. You play him going forward. They routed them in this game. I don't expect that to happen, but he's going to continue to be involved. Next, Chase Brown for me. This is a tough one. Hasn't necessarily played that great. Only 4 points, 10 carries for 3 yards, 4 catches for 17 yards. They got absolutely destroyed by Jordan Mason and those Minnesota Vikings. The offense had so many turnovers. They were just frankly terrible. But what you love to see is Chase Brown is currently first in the NFL, pending Monday Night Football, in carries inside the 5-yard line. That might change with Jahmyr Gibbs tonight, but it's as close as I can get for right now. Taking on the Denver Broncos, really, really tough matchup. That offense is just kind of sputtering with the loss of Joe Burrow, but he's going to continue to be involved. So I think he's someone who plays. If he kind of gets in the end zone, he's going to save your day. I don't expect him to be as inefficient as he was, but this does highlight some of my concerns that I was voicing in the offseason. Now, let's get to Kyron at RB15. Fantastic offensive line, fantastic offense. The Rams are humming right now. They had absolutely every opportunity to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. It just simply did not happen. That's okay, though. They take on the Colts this week. I expect another high-scoring affair. He's coming off a week where he had 18.2 points, 20 carries for 94 yards, added 2 catches for 18 yards. He's currently 8th in red zone carries, so he's one of those guys you're going to continue to put in your lineup. I think he's a really safe play, really high floor, maybe not the best ceiling unless he gets the 2 touchdowns like he had this past week. Now, Travis Etienne is my RB16. I really, really love what I saw from Travis Etienne. 16 carries for 56 yards. It's just that the offense there in Jacksonville did not necessarily perform. Now they got it done when it mattered most, and that included ETN finding a way to help this team down the way. Now, this offensive line in Jacksonville is surprisingly good. They're playing well, despite having some losses there, some new additions coming into that team. But I like it going forward. I think he's going to be okay. He takes on San Francisco, so a tougher matchup, but I think he's going to continue to use that workload and find a way to continue to produce for our fantasy lineups. Now, Jaylen Warren at RB17 for me. There's simply no other way to put this than if you have Jaylen Warren, I think you have to be playing him. He's been extremely efficient and extremely good. I understand he's coming off a week where he only had 10.6 points, 18 carries for 47 yards, 5 catches for 34 yards. Not his best week, but so far this season, he's looked really dang good. And he's someone that I think is kind of surprising right now. 4th in carries inside the 5. That matters. When they get down there, they are handing it to him. It is his backfield. Kenneth Gainwell got one of the scores this week at the goal line. I wouldn't expect that to continue to play. He's going to get his opportunities, but Jaylen Warren is the guy in this backfield. Rodgers trusts him, and that's really, really good to see as we move forward through the season. Now, to close out this tier for me, Breece Hall coming off a brutal game. He gets to take on the Miami Dolphins, which is a pretty good matchup. We just saw James Cook absolutely destroy this defense. It's a good matchup for him. The Jets, we'll see what happens if Justin Fields is back. I think that might help him a little bit more. He only had 9 carries for 21 yards, added 4 catches for 31 yards. I still like his opportunity. I think he's going to be better. It's just one of those things where he's going to be an up and down player, kind of a fringe RB1, more of an RB2 as we move along the season. But that's going to close out my tier 3. So let's go ahead and let's just continue to work forward and start looking into the tier 4, which is going to include a lot of names that I think are going to be surprises. It's going to be really mainly a rookie tier. And when we step back and we look, I've got Alvin Kamara to kick it off, followed by Javonte Williams. And then we get some of these rookies. Amarian Hampton, not J.K. Dobbins, but he's 22 here, followed by Ja'Cory and Quinshon Judkins. Now, I want to say I have Genty currently at 25. So the rookies are kind of stacking in right here. We're kind of getting some more data on who's playing well, who's playing tougher, what are these matchups looking like? And I think that's going to be the main thing as we continue to move forward as this season progresses. Now, let's start with Alvin Kamara at RB19. I like him a ton. The matchup, frankly, is not great. Taking on the Buffalo Bills, he only had 6.1 points this past week. Again, that team got absolutely destroyed. 18 for 42, added a catch for 14 yards. He's going to continue to be one of those guys that just has so much volume. You're going to feel comfortable with playing him. I mean, think about it this way. He had a terrible game, and he still scored you 6 points. He could have absolutely goosed you. He could have done a lot worse than that. I mean, some of these other guys have had worse games than 6.1 points. Obviously, you want better, but I think just given the fact that he's Alvin Kamara, you have to play him. Now, RB20 for me is going to be Javonte Williams. Really, really impressed with what I've seen so far from him this year. He looks like he has the burst. He has some elusiveness. He's making people miss. Continues to make some big plays, some big gashes. The big asterisk here is going to be, what do we do with CeeDee Lamb? It's projected he could be out for 4 to 6 weeks. And if that is the case, it will undoubtedly hamper this offense. And it's something we have to consider as we move through this season. But I still think that Javonte Williams has proven that he's going to have a role and have opportunity. And that matters. The Dallas offensive line has played okay, all things considered, when they're run blocking. They're one of the better run blocking teams in the league. Now, that being said, they have a reunion with none other than the man they traded themselves, with the Green Bay Packers taking on Micah Parsons. Sunday Night Football. I think it's a tough matchup. This line has a lot to ask for here. So we'll see if they can do it. He had 9.7 points this past week, 10 carries for 76 yards, added 5 catches for 16 yards. He's going to continue to have that involvement. Whether they're winning, whether they're losing, Javonte Williams is going to be on the field. Now, RB21, Amarian Hampton, taking on the New York Giants on Sunday. 21.9 points for him this past week. 19 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown, added 6 catches for 59 yards. He's currently 4th in carries inside the 5, so interesting little note there. Najee Harris gets hurt at the beginning of that game, or midway through, I should say, so it kind of looks like Amarian Hampton's going to step into a bigger workload. we'll see. I think they are going to work in someone like Hassan Haskins. Harbaugh just trusts him. It's a Michigan man. He's going to give him some opportunities. I don't think Hampton is going to dominate the backfield per se, but he will be the workhorse for the team. And, it's worth noting that that's valuable going forward. Najee going down sucks in that regard for him, but it's a workload for Amari and Hampton. So he sneaks back into my tier 4 here in the top 24. I'm really interested to see how this team looks with him being the guy again, if he's a little more settled than he looked in the first 2 weeks, and he played well this past week. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. Now, RB22 for me, J.K. Dobbins for Denver. Another impressive start for him. He's looked explosive, making people miss, making big plays, 11 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown, 14.8 points this past week. Plays on Monday night against the Bengals. So solid matchup, solid opportunity for him. I like what he can do going forward. Now, the running backs from here, from 23 to 25, I know Ashton Jeanty is not pictured. You could interchange these guys, and there's a really good argument you could put Judkins ahead of Hampton, but I just want to see it one more time from Judkins. But let's start with Ja'Cory. So RB23 for me, only 8 carries for 26 yards and a touchdown, added a catch for 5 yards. He didn't necessarily have all the opportunity, but when the game got out of hand, they weren't really playing guys like him or Terry McLaurin. Chris Rodriguez did have that big explosive run where he was kind of bottled up and just found a way to sneak out of the pile and ended up scoring, which was great to see. I'm a Commanders fan, so I'm all for it. But Ja'Cory, guys, has looked absolutely fantastic, and I'm really, really excited with what he's done thus far this season, and I think he's going to continue to make big plays as we go forward. And the offense, I think, is going to continue to run through him. You can absolutely say that, a guy like Ja'Cory is a riskier start, and I'm not going to disagree with you, but he's currently top 5 in points per fantasy touch. So when he gets the ball in his hands, he scores almost 1.2 points each time he touches the ball. That is important. And I think that if he continues to be on that path, he's going to be a great player going forward. And we've seen the opportunity. He's got 2 touchdowns. He's made big plays. I really like him on my lineup going forward. I think it's a good matchup against the Falcons. Tough defense. If Jaden Daniels is back, I'm keeping him here. If Jaden Daniels is out, I might slide him down, replace him with Jeanty. We'll just have to see. Now, Quinshon Judkins. I alluded to that just a minute ago. Taking on the Detroit Lions, so a tougher matchup. But he had 16 points this past week, 18 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. Judkins has looked really, really good. They immediately bumped him up to the RB1. My concern is it took a late miracle for him to come back and be fantasy relevant. Now, granted, when it comes, it comes. That's all that matters, is you got to get the points. But for him, it literally came last minute. The fourth quarter, the Browns somehow came back and won this game against the Packers. It was a great game if you didn't get to watch it. So I like Judkins going forward. I just think that I want to see a little bit more from him before I'm willing to throw him ahead of some of these guys. But if he's on my lineup or on my team, I'm probably trying to find a way to play him, to be honest. But that's going to do it for my top 24. So let's get into the streamers now. Let's talk about some guys where if you lost a running back, if you lost to James Conner, let's get straight to it. The first immediate pickup is going to be Trey Benson. Now, I have these guys in order of availability. Trey Benson is currently 40% available, so unlikely to be out there. But if he is, go grab him. He would be a heavy fab dump for me. I would be looking to spend probably 50 to 70% of my fab. Just kind of depends on my team and what I need. Now, next for me is Bashal Tutin, another guy who found his way in the end zone, continues to be worked in. The workload is minuscule. He's kind of in that Bucky role of last year where he's playing behind Travis Etienne, but he's still involved enough where if he gets a couple catches, is efficient with his yards running the ball, which he has been thus far, he will be an okay spot start. Now, Kareem Hunt, available in 61% of the leagues. He's found his way inside the top 24. This was one of my waiver wire ads from last week. And again, he is currently available in 61% of leagues. I like him. He looked like the better back over Pacheco. I think this team trusts him. They use him out of the backfield. He's been more efficient with the ball in his hands. He found his way in the end zone. So I like Kareem Hunt. I think he's another one of those vets. And that right now is what the Kansas City Chiefs are trusting. They're trusting Mahomes, they're trusting Kelsey, and they're trusting Kareem Hunt. And I think they're going to continue to just grind it out. It's going to be ugly games, which bodes well for the run game. If they can just get down there and let him punch it in, he will absolutely do that for you. So I think there's worse plays out there. I wouldn't expect you to goose him, but I wouldn't expect you to give him to get 20 points each week. He seems to me like a really safe option to get between 7 and 12 points every single week. Now, to close out my waiver wires and streamers here, it's going to be Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears is currently available in 64% of leagues. This is mainly because he's currently still on IR. This is a longer term play. You're adding him not necessarily to play this week because he's not going to. You're adding him for the possibility of him playing in week 5, 6, and 7, and so on. So if you have an IR spot and you have the availability, go add him. This is a good pickup. Tony Pollard is getting all the run right now. They're trying to work in Julius Chestnut, who is not as good as Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears has looked good the past couple of years, has been a guy that's been a running mate with Tony Pollard, and I expect that to continue. So Tajay Spears, if he's available, you should absolutely add him. You should throw him in your IR spot and just see what happens as we move forward, because he could absolutely turn into a guy that's in a 50-50 timeshare, albeit not in a great offense, but it's at least someone who has an opportunity to find his way falling in the end zone. It's also worth noting he's a little bit bigger than Tony Pollard, so he could kind of be the muscle at the goal line. So I like that going forward. I'll close it out by saying someone who's probably not available, Cam Scatterbo. I think he's available in about 30% of leagues, maybe less. If you have one of those leagues where he's out there, go grab him. Tyrone Tracy got hurt. Not sure as to the extent just yet, but he's someone that is needing to be on a roster. So go add him. He looked pretty good with the ball in his hands. Another one of those guys that's top 5 currently in fantasy points per touch. So expect him to be a big-time waiver add. I would dump a ton of fab in him if I found him on my waiver wire. But that's going to do it for me. So be sure to check out the comments. Let me know if you got any questions for your start set decisions. The Discord is in the description. Go join it. Like I said, I post my updated rankings as the week goes on. So be sure to catch us there, and we'll see you next week.